90%. Let that sink in for a second. That's how accurately a simple wearable device, maybe like the one on your wrist right now, predicted a COVID-19 infection. And we're not talking about after the cough starts or when you get a fever. No, we're talking days, sometimes more than a week, before a person even felt a thing. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? It just raises this huge, almost unsettling question. How on earth can a little gadget that we use to track our steps and check our texts, how can it possibly know the deepest secrets of our own immune system before we do? Okay, so let's really dive into this, because what we're talking about here isn't just some clever new app. It's the beginning of something much bigger. It's the birth of the body's digital twin, a real-time, high-definition data stream of your own biology. And honestly, it's about to change everything we thought we knew about being sick and about being well. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at how our bodies are sending out these secret messages. Then we'll see how this blows up an entire era of medicine. We'll get into the mind-bending tech behind it, see how this data is already fighting disease today, uncover the pretty dangerous risks involved, and finally, try to figure out what it means for all of us to live with a permanent digital health record. Right, so that incredible 90% number, that's not just a guess. It comes from a serious study published in JMIR Formative Research, and it gives us our first real clue about how all this works. It's like it pulls back the curtain on a silent conversation that's happening inside our bodies 24/7. The study zeroed in on healthcare workers. These are people on the absolute front lines, at the highest possible risk of infection during the pandemic. For months, they went about their incredibly demanding jobs, but with one key difference: they wore a simple smartwatch. And this watch wasn't looking for a cough or a sneeze. It was programmed to listen for something way more subtle: the body's first quiet internal whisper that a fight was about to begin. And the algorithm wasn't tracking anything crazy. It was focused on 4 basic signals, mostly while the person was asleep, when all the noise from daily life just fades away. You've got resting heart rate, your breathing rate, and your sleep data. But that fourth one, that one is maybe the most important: heart rate variability, or HRV. Now, HRV isn't about how fast your heart's beating. It's about the tiny, millisecond-long changes in time between each beat. A healthy, relaxed body has high variability. But when your body is under stress, like fighting off a virus, that variability plummets. Your heartbeat gets more rigid, more like a metronome. And when your immune system kicks into high gear, these 4 things start to shift together, creating this unique signature that shows up days before you ever feel sick. And this is the whole game changer right here. The algorithm could spot that signature and raise an alarm up to 8 full days before a person would even test positive. 8 days. Just think about what that really means. In a pandemic, that's an 8-day head start. That's the difference between one person staying home and an entire office or an entire family getting sick. This is the power of pre-symptomatic detection. It's not just about knowing you're sick. It's about knowing before you can make anyone else sick. Just like the study's authors said, this tech helps bridge a massive gap. For all of our incredible medical tech, we've always been playing catch-up with viruses, just waiting for symptoms to show up. This flips the script entirely. But as powerful as this is, it's really just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger shift, one that's shaking the very foundations of medicine. Because what this single discovery does is challenge the way we've practiced medicine for, like, a century. It's basically signaling the end of an era. Think about it. For generations, our entire healthcare system has been built around the episodic exam, the annual checkup. It's this 30-minute window where a doctor has to try and figure out what's going on with this ridiculously complex system, your body, that's been running 24/7 for the last 365 days. We get a few measurements, draw some blood for one single moment in time. It's a snapshot. Just one blurry frame from the very long, very complicated movie of your life. And it's totally reactive. We wait for something to break, and then we try to fix it. Stanford geneticist Michael Snyder, who's a huge pioneer in this space, has the perfect analogy. He says, you don't drive a car around without a dashboard. We would never dream of operating a complex machine without real-time feedback, right? We have gauges for gas, for engine temp, for oil pressure, and yet we're navigating the single most complex machine on the entire planet, our own body, almost completely blind, just waiting for the engine to start smoking before we even think about checking the oil. And Snyder knows this from experience. His own smartwatch flagged a weird change in his heart rate and oxygen levels while he was on a flight. He felt totally fine, but the data was screaming that something was wrong. It turned out to be Lyme disease, caught weeks before he would have ever shown symptoms. And this just lays out the whole paradigm shift perfectly. We are moving away from the world on the left, the old school episodic exam, reactive, based on one single data point, all squeezed into a tiny 30-minute window. And we're moving towards the world on the right, continuous surveillance, a proactive system built on a 24/7 data stream that gives us not a snapshot, but a high-resolution film of our health. But to get that kind of clinical-grade movie, well, we need a much better camera than a watch. And this is where the technology just takes a giant leap into something that feels like true sci-fi. We're moving way beyond the smartwatches we all know and into the realm of real human-machine integration. You see, the big problem with our wearables, as the pioneer John A. Rogers explains, is this lack of an intimate interface. An Apple Watch, a Fitbit, it's a hard block of plastic and metal. It just rattles around on your wrist. It shifts. When you move, you get all these false signals that mess up the data. That tiny gap of air and movement between the sensor and your skin, that is the enemy of good clinical-grade data. It's why your watch is great at counting your steps, but it can't perform a true medical-grade ECG. So the solution is this whole new class of tech called epidermal electronics, or sometimes you'll hear them called biopatches. These things aren't just wearable, they're what you'd call skin laminable. I want you to picture a temporary tattoo, but inside it are these tiny serpentine wires and microelectronics that are thinner than human hair. They are so soft and flexible that they just conform to the microscopic wrinkles of your skin. They move with it, become part of it. You literally don't feel them. They don't just sit on your body. They merge with it. They get rid of that gap. They create that perfect, intimate interface. And once you have that perfect connection, you can do so much more than just measure physical stuff like heart rate. You can actually start to decode the body's chemistry. For decades, the only way to know what was going on in your bloodstream was to get a painful, invasive blood draw at one specific moment in time. But these new patches, they can continuously analyze things like sweat or the fluid just beneath the skin, giving us a real-time window into our metabolism, our hydration, even the exact amount of a drug that's in our system, all without a single needle. So let's break down how one of these lab-on-a-patch devices actually works. It is absolutely ingenious. First, you have this tiny patch of microneedles, so small you don't even feel them, and they sample the fluid right under the top layer of skin. Second, these needles are coated with strands of synthetic DNA called aptamers, which are designed to grab onto one specific molecule, like, say, an antibiotic. Third, at the end of that DNA is a little molecule that's basically a flag that can send an electrical signal. Now, when the drug molecule binds to the DNA physically folds over, changing its shape. This moves that little flag closer or further from an electrode on the needle. Fourth, that tiny change in distance creates a real, measurable change in electricity. And finally, a little chip on the patch turns that electrical signal into a precise drug level and beams it wirelessly to a phone or a hospital monitor. It's amazing. A molecular event becomes a digital signal in real time. Like Professor Justin Gooding says, it's such an exciting breakthrough because it lets medicine finally operate on the same timescale as the body itself. You're not guessing what a drug level might have been 6 hours ago based on an old blood test. You are knowing continuously what it is right this second. It's the difference between flying blind and having a full dashboard. And that knowledge is already changing everything for patients. Okay, so now let's look at how this tech is actually being used on the front lines. We're moving out of the lab and into the real world, seeing how it's changing the way we fight specific and sometimes life-threatening conditions. This table just gives you a few quick examples of the revolution that's happening. For heart rhythm problems, we're going from a 10-second ECG in a clinic to 30 days of continuous monitoring. For the tiniest, most fragile newborn babies, we're replacing a tangle of wires with a single skin-safe patch. And for drug dosing, the painful periodic blood draw is giving way to painless, nonstop monitoring. Let's dig into each of these. Okay, so take arrhythmias. A massive challenge with conditions like atrial fibrillation or AFib is that they can come and go. A patient might feel their heart racing on a Tuesday, but their doctor's appointment isn't until Friday. By then, their heart is back to normal, and the in-office ECG shows nothing. It's incredibly frustrating for them, and it's dangerous. A biopatch, like the iRhythm Zio AT, is worn for up to 30 days straight. It captures every single heartbeat, millions of them, while you're living your normal life. It doesn't miss a thing. It's there, waiting to record the event the second it actually happens, giving the doctor the definitive proof they need to make a diagnosis and start treatment. And the results? They're just staggering. Because these patches give such a complete picture, leading to better diagnoses and better treatments, studies have shown they can help slash hospital readmission rates for things like heart failure by up to 30%. That is a massive deal for patients, and it saves the healthcare system billions of dollars. And this is how it all fits together. You've got the biopatch on the body, constantly collecting data. That data gets sent wirelessly to an app on a smartphone. The app then securely uploads it to a cloud platform. And from there, powerful algorithms organize it all, creating dashboards and alerts that let a medical team monitor their patients from literally anywhere. They don't have to wait for the patient to call them with a problem. They can step in the moment the data shows something is wrong. It's a completely proactive system. But this incredible new power comes with a new and really complicated set of dangers. Because as we create these perfect digital twins of our biology, we also create a brand new kind of vulnerability, a ghost in the data that can be just as dangerous as the diseases we're trying to fight. The problem is, the data doesn't always tell the whole story. The very same sensitivity that lets a wearable detect the quiet start of an infection, well, that can also be its greatest weakness. Remember that healthcare worker study we started with? The researchers found this really counterintuitive problem. A tough workout, a bad night's sleep after a stressful shift, a big argument with someone, or even just having a few drinks can create a physiological signature that looks shockingly similar to an early-stage infection. The way your body responds to everyday stress, your heart rate shoots up, your HRV drops, can perfectly mimic its response to a virus. And that leads to false positives. The alarm goes off when there's no actual illness there. And this creates a huge practical problem for doctors. Data overload. I mean, imagine you're a doctor monitoring 50 patients, and every single one is sending you a 24/7 stream of data. If a huge chunk of your alerts are false alarms caused by a patient's bad night of sleep, you quickly develop what's called alert fatigue. It's where the constant flood of notifications just becomes meaningless background noise, and you get so desensitized that a real life-threatening signal might get missed. The new challenge becomes trying to find the true signal of disease in all the physiological noise of everyday life. But the dangers go way beyond just clinical noise. This continuous stream of our most intimate biological data is one of the most valuable assets on the planet, and it is a prime target for attack. In just 1 year, healthcare data breaches shot up by over 55%. These systems that are designed to save our lives are also becoming massive cybersecurity risks. And we're not just talking about someone stealing your credit card number. We're talking about a permanent, unchangeable record of your physiology being sold on the dark web. The stakes are just exponentially higher. This whole revolution is built on this ethical minefield of questions we are only now starting to ask. Who actually owns the data stream of your life? Is it you, the device maker, your doctor, your insurance company? How do we make sure the data is actually reliable and that the algorithms reading it aren't biased? What happens if this expensive tech creates a new digital divide in healthcare? And maybe the biggest question of all, what does it even mean to be sick or normal in a world where we can track every tiny deviation from a statistical average? Which brings us to our final section, because this isn't some far-off future we're debating. The revolution is already here, and we are all becoming the first generation to live side by side with our digital twin. And make no mistake, this is not some niche tech just waiting for its moment. It is happening right now at a massive scale. In just 4 years, Medicare claims for remote patient monitoring, or RPM, have exploded by over 3,000%. The system is already being rewired around this continuous flow of data. And as you can see here, it's not just for heart specialists. Yeah, cardiology is a big adopter, but the largest share of this is in internal medicine, followed closely by family practice. This is fast becoming a standard tool for primary care, the very foundation of our medical system. Your family doctor is becoming a data analyst. Just as Dr. Richard Lee at MedPace puts it, the pandemic accelerated this whole thing from a slow evolution into a full-blown revolution. And he says it definitively, that is here to stay. There's no going back. The era of personalized, data-driven medicine has officially arrived. So here's the bottom line. We are fundamentally redefining what health even means. Health is no longer a static condition, not just a box you check at your yearly physical. It's becoming a dynamic, real-time metric, a continuous stream of information that we and our doctors will manage just as actively as we manage our money or our emails. It's becoming a verb, not a noun. This technology promises a world with less disease and with truly proactive care. But it leaves us with these huge, urgent, unanswered questions. In a world where your body has a digital twin, who owns that data? Who controls the alerts that could literally alter the course of your life? And in a reality of constant, high-definition surveillance, what does it truly mean to be well?